Hello everyone, this is Jay Wengrow, and welcome to Think Like a Software Engineer, Episode 12. In today's episode, I am going to show you a technique that software engineers use for finding code within a larger code base. This technique is so crazy simple, yet I find that people who are new to coding don't use it. So, in front of me right now, I have a website called GitHub. GitHub is a website where people can host or basically store code bases. So this is a project called Opal. It's a code base. And if you look below, here's a bunch of folders and files that all contain code within it. There's a cool section on GitHub that, if you look here, there's a thing called issues. This is where people report issues, problems that they find with the code base. If we look at some of these issues here, we'll see that these are generally bugs or perhaps feature requests that people have. And I'm just going to look at this particular one here, array zip inconsistencies with blocks. This was an issue reported back in December of 2016. And they are complaining that there's a problem with Opal, namely that there is some sort of inconsistency with blocks in something called array zip. We're not even going to go into what this is exactly. All that we're going to focus on is that there's a problem with array zip. Array zip is a function. Now, we're not even going to dive into what functions are, but basically there's a section of code called zip within the Opal code base that has a problem. So if I wanted to go ahead and help the Opal project out and possibly fix this inconsistency with the zip code, then what I would do is download this code, make a fix, and then push it back up to GitHub. The process has a few more steps than that, but that is essentially the essence of it. So I have gone ahead and downloaded the Opal codebase down from GitHub. I have it now on my own computer. I have in front of me now my text editor. This is the program where I load code. It's sort of like a word processor, but for code. And on the left-hand side, you could see we have a bunch of folders and files. This is the entire Opal codebase. And now I want to find the function called zip and see if I can fix it. So if I didn't have the technique that I'm about to show you, I would start looking around for where I may think that the zip function would be. Now, as an experienced software engineer, I would have a decent guess as to where it is. I would know that it's probably not inside the test folder or the tasks folder or the examples folder. And I would start narrowing down to where I think it may be. I would think that lib, which stands for library, is a good chance that's where it might be. I'll look in this Opal folder, which then has lots of other things. Now, I know that the zip function is within something called an array, so I may not be looking for zip per se. I'm probably looking for something called array. I don't see array right here, but I can start looking at other things. As you may get the sense, it's really hard to find a very specific piece of code within a large code base. This is where the technique comes in. The technique is so simple. It's basically to use your text editor's feature of finding stuff. So almost, I think every text editor has a feature called find. So if you go up to the top, you could find something. But even better is to find in files, which basically searches the entire code base for something. You can also load this up with a shortcut, either Control-Shift-F or Command-Shift-F on a Mac. And all we have to do is type in zip. And then in front of us, we have a bunch of places within our code base where zip appears. You can see that this yellow text is the file where an instance of zip occurs. So we could see that we have a bunch of files where the word zip occurs. And every time zip occurs, it's actually surrounded with this rectangular border. Now, if I look, I can see that there's this changelog file, a util file, and then boom, the array file. And we see def zip. And if I just simply double click on this word zip, it loads the array file. And then right here in front of me is the zip function. This is the code that has some sort of inconsistencies with blocks. Now, of course, it would take some time for me to read this code and figure out exactly what's going on and then why the problem is happening. But the step of finding this code in the first place, within the hundreds or possibly thousands of files that exist within this codebase, is done. I've accomplished that step without any effort whatsoever. That is today's tip. Thank you for joining me, and I am looking forward to seeing you next week.